On today's episode, we read one-star reviews of public art.
We mourn the loss of a beloved St. Louis institution.
And we talk about doing bus stuff.
And I'm here too.
No! I'm Colin.
I'm David.
And I'm Bradley.
And I'm St. Louis-based international vertical video sensation and artist, Doug Weaver.
And this is Overarching.
Colin, we have a guest.
We have a guest. It's Doug.
Yeah,
Doug.
I'm Doug.
Tell us who are you?
Why
Doug?
the hell are you here, Doug? No.
I'm here because I love St. Louis. I'm an artist in St. Louis, and I guess that's it.
That's it.
why I'm
That's
here.
it. There's not much else.
You
Because
don't-
I'm a
you
cool
don't need
guy,
that
and I like
much.
to hang out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's do the pledge.
Okay.
I
pledge allegiance to Gregory FX Daly,
the one to whom we owe it all,
and to our taxes, which we prefer to be invested in the arts.
That's it.
All of it. We want all our tax money to go into the arts so we can just have one big bohemian, colorful society where anarchy rules the day. That's exactly what all artists want, right? To never work another day in their lives and just make art at 3 a.m. 1% to the god of yellow envelopes ignored by all.
Yeah, how was your first pledge, Doug?
Well, it was different.
Do you feel allegiant?
I'm kind of opposed to pledging allegiance to things in general.
It's fair.
But
It's a
I
fair- it's a
like
fair.
this a little better.
Yeah.
Doug,
Yeah.
you live in St. Louis?
I live in St. Louis.
Well, what part of St. Louis do you live in?
I live in Old North.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you always lived in Old North?
No, I've lived in Old North since 2015. Before that, my wife and I lived in Rwanda in the Peace Corps, where I taught art, music, and drama, and my wife taught English. And then before that, we were in grad school in St. Louis, and then we did undergrad in Columbia, Missouri, and then I grew up in Oregon and moved here when I was 18.
I knew he was famous. I didn't know he was cool.
Good one.
I'm like, I'm like, oh, I moved here from Florida. I moved here from Florida. And then there's this guy who moved here. Like we about moved here
Via
at
the
the
way
same
for
time.
Rwanda.
Yeah, right. Friggin', that's amazing. Like
What a culture shock.
unpack that a little bit.
Oh,
What-
it was super weird coming here.
Yeah.
Like coming to our house that has 3 toilets. Yeah. And then, like, for 2 years we had none toilets.
Yeah.
Like we had a hole that we went in and it just went in a pipe that went out into the yard.
Is that how they list properties down there for sale? None toilets in this
Well,
house.
often there's a latrine. So the pit latrine, it just goes like 30 feet down.
Yeah.
But then ours was plumbed, but like the pipe broke. So it just went into our yard.
Man.
But our vegetables were huge.
Comment section readers theater is a segment that we do perennially.
So occasionally.
Where I doom scroll Facebook comment
Oh
sections.
my gosh. This is a
and,
script?
and plumb a
Yes.
script out of
Not
this.
just any script. Real comments.
These are-
Legitimately real comments.
These
From
are
the section of this article.
These are all real comments from a specific publication that we will name in a second. I have changed the order of them, but I have not changed the text of them. Let's
They're
know
here
a little.
for
Let's
your enjoyment.
know a little more about our fine commenters in St. Louis. Honestly, this is therapy for me.
I think it's therapy for everyone in St. Louis who has ever read a comment
sure.
section.
There are more doom scrollers than I, but
Yes.
I definitely am very, very, very much addicted to the doom scrolling, especially when it comes to any old thing about progress in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And you better believe that the vast majority of those articles, especially on Facebook, are littered with the most crazy bullshit. And honestly, this was not one that caught my eye to begin with, and I just happened to click on it because it had a lot of comments. It had about 435, which is less comments than I typically go for. Usually I look for the thousands, but I just happened to click on this one, and I was like, oh my God. Comment section readers theater with Doug.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's set the scene. Interior, St. Louis Business Journal Facebook comment section.
Headline: Chesterfield Mall owner sets date it will close permanently.
So sad to see it end.
End of an era.
Thank you. Oh, dear Father God.
Heartbreaking. I loved that mall. Many happy memories.
The Chesterfield History Museum would love to talk with you about your memories.
What is relacing it?
Does this hurt the fish?
What does this mean for the Cheesecake Factory?
This is a joke. Downtown Chesterfield, an urban feel. We still have city neighborhoods with the urban feel. And all the people from Chesterfield were afraid to come to downtown St. Louis and are still afraid to come to the urban feel neighborhoods.
Silver lining. At least the building will be reutilized and not abandoned.
It says they are demolishing and building apartments and such.
My husband and I met there at Famous Bar in 1985.
The Chesterfield History Museum would love to talk with you about your memories.
Is the Cheesecake Factory going to be in the new space?
Chesterfield sure is going downhill with all these apartments they're letting in. They don't need any more.
Just what the world needs. More apartments. Adorable townhouses at the least.
It won't matter. Still, we'll have crime issues, albeit with homeless encampments out front of the businesses as well.
Millennials, Gen Xers, and Gen Zers don't want homes. They want condos. It's a fact! Do your research.
Bro, I'm a research scientist. What you mean is read up on the facts. Doing research is something completely different.
No, research isn't research. Research is research. And mincing words is so immature and juvenile.
I was told when last ate there that the Cheesecake Factory will still be a standalone facility right where they're at.
Calling studying up on stuff research has given rise to people thinking their opinion is at the same level as experts in their field.
I do not believe in opinions because they are literally what people think. And the only person/being that I care what they think is God.
I used to be a mall rat in the late 70s. Soon, there will be no malls. Sad.
The Chesterfield History Museum would love to talk with you about your memories.
Say goodbye to the big white bird where we met so many times.
The big white bird is at West County Center.
The Chesterfield History Museum would love to talk with you about your memories.
Do obsolete building druids only worship derelict buildings? Or can we look forward to their efforts to preserve relics of obsolete roads and bridges? Progress must be a druid heresy.
The Chesterfield History Museum would love to talk with you about your memories.
When the fashion trends are men dressing like lumberjacks and women like hookers, it gets a bit confusing for the professional retail buyers to go to market. The lumberjack hooker combo isn't working at retail.
Too bad we can't have any place nice to shop anymore.
The Chesterfield Mall was the best. Now they force us to go to the Galleria to shop.
The Galleria is too far and too much craziness happens at the Galleria.
Last time I was in Galleria, 2 people are fighting outside punching each other. It was scary. Since then, I never go back.
The Cheesecake Factory there isn't as good as the one in Chesterfield.
So sad to say bye-bye to Cheesecake Factory.
Kinda miss the Cheesecake Factory.
Yet another once great place with many memories of deceased family members that will be demolished. There's fewer and fewer places to visit and reminisce by the day.
The Chesterfield History Museum would love to talk with you about your memories.
Like, are they reading these comments? What goes through their head when they do?
Scene. Excellent work, Dex.
There you go. There you go.
Excellent work. Honestly, one of the finer organized
Well,
Readers Theaters that you've done.
I thought,
I mean, makes me want some cheesecake.
but the one in Chesterfield.
I definitely think lumberjack hooker needs to become part of my wardrobe. I need to focus on that a little bit more. That's a good energy.
Yeah. Also,
Yes.
great band name.
yes.
It goes along with Skynet Jesus. Speaking of Skynet Jesus,
Yeah.
it's at the time of recording. At the time of recording, actually, not at the time of recording. This is an update at the time of recording for stuff that wasn't at the time.
Yes.
Drones. There was
Again.
Christian drones flying over Gravois Park. Did you hear about this?
I heard about it.
Yeah,
I saw a TikTok from y'all.
Yeah.
the premium news source for all TikTokers that are more famous than us. Company SMS Novel.
Yes.
Was
SMS.
flying those drones. They got
Jomo.
Jomo Johnson,
Our good friend Jomo.
Yeah, go watch that other episode. Go watch our TikTok on the matter if you want it digestible. Yeah. It's a crazy, crazy story from a crazy, crazy company, and a lot of the comments were, man, it's so embarrassing to be from St. Louis. Why isn't the city doing anything about it? They are, and they were, and it's done.
Yep. We have an update.
Aldermen on Thursday approved a suite of changes to a plan aimed at reining in commercial spy drones that have raised alarm in recent weeks. That's a
What a great lead.
Little understatement. Raised concern, press among freedom, First Amendment experts, et cetera, et cetera. Alicia Sonnier.
Like the day that like that news was coming out, we were recording. She was like on TikTok like right away, being like, not in my backyard.
Yep,
not
and
my house.
She's definitely been the one. It's her district, but she was the one to really push this.
So-
And I'm pretty sure it was unanimous.
Golf
We
claps.
can look it up. That's not in this article, but Sonier said that it would also be nice if it deterred the out-of-state firm SMS Novel from continuing its purported efforts to surveil city neighborhoods despite opposition from city officials. So this is a Board of Aldermen resolution. It passed. We all know the Board of Aldermen, when they want something done, it usually gets done, for
Yes.
better or worse. And it
good
looks like we have the bare minimum of maybe not commercial drone companies surveilling us.
But I
City
love how
says.
this took precedent and how fast they were able to like bring this to the table.
I mean,
you
it
know?
was super public, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a wild news story, and I feel like you get something buzzy, that like,
Literally buzzy.
yeah.
The buzz goes.
It's also an easy win because no one likes it.
Yeah.
And there's no profit for the city in allowing it.
Right.
So
Right.
Well, yet they have to be fair, this is a completely separate issue, but they should take a stance, or they should have issue with it. The Board of Aldermen, the largest story in St. Louis is still Bar PM,
Right.
and yet the aldermen are like, we're not doing anything about that.
Yeah.
National news story.
like-
And again, like you said, it's kind of like this drone story is so
And
it's
the
a
cops keep
softball.
crashing into shit.
For real.
They keep crashing into so many things.
At the time of recording,
insane.
since the Bar PM wreck, I believe it's been 4 SUVs.
Yes, 4.
have been turned over
since
or
like
wrecked.
3.
I think it's 4.
So 4 total.
I think it's 5 total.
What?
Yeah,
I think
no,
it's 4.
well, too many.
Yeah.
It's been
Either way, one
2.5
is one
months.
too many. Yeah.
One of those 4 wrecks of cop SUVs.
Yeah.
So like this is St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, the city police that we're talking about. They crashed into a historic church sign on the north side.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about this? It's I forgot what church it is. I can look. We're winging this particular at the time of recording, but
Well, there was the
if we're talking
Bethlehem
about-
one.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I
but then
think.
there was another one. There was 2 churches that they crashed into, which is super.
If we're gonna do
know.
this, let's do this for real.
So they have to pick a side. Are you going to crash into gay stuff, or are you going to crash into religious stuff? Pick
That's
one.
the issue, David.
You know? No, that's the issue. Which side do you hate?
I had a police cruiser take the mirror off of my car a while back. It was a police chase went by our house, and so we got it on camera and I'm like, so we reached out to the police and we're like, what do we do to get the mirror put back on? Police cruiser hit it, and they're like,
They're like, we're
Not
gonna-
our problem.
They're like, here's
Not
a
our
ticket
fault.
for not having a mirror.
they're like, it's really the person we were chasing. It's really their fault. I'm like, well,
Well, you should be like, well, what if you pull me over later and I can't see you behind me?
well
Well, then you're getting a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is the wild thing. Is like if you have, like, would the insurance company, like, you could, like, if you had like the video, like, would the insurance company go after the police department? Probably not. But like, it'd be pretty cool if they did.
From the Riverfront Times, our good friend, I'm not sure if she's friend of the show, but friend of ours, Sarah Fensky. I wanted to get her words out there because it is amazing. In the article about the Bethlehem church crash where they took out a historic sign and drove through a fence. So what triggered the accident this time? A stray dog, a parked car just sticking its butt out there in the street, maybe even the police radio daring to distract the driver with all its shiny buttons. Yes, but we can't help but think of the 2 rookie officers who drove their SUV into Bar PM only for the police to arrest the bar's co-owner who dared to question why a vehicle had crashed through his front wall. Nobody was injured in this particular crash at New Bethlehem except the sign and the fence and the SUV. A friend of mine at Greenfinch the other night, we were talking about it, and he said, maybe it's like a quota thing, and they're trying to get new SUVs. And honestly, that made the most sense.
That's genuinely true.
that definitely sounds like something that the police department would do.
It's like, well, we can't replace the fleet until you have so many that are out of commission.
What if the chief, like, from Delaware comes in and is like, guys, I have this foolproof plan that worked for me back out east. All right. We just accidentally crashed our cruisers. Said, we need new ones.
And then he drastically underestimated or didn't give clear instructions as to what to crash it into.
Yeah.
It's like, what about a gay bar?
What was that?
What
Was
about
that-
a historically black church? Shit, God,
This
fuck,
reminds
guys.
me. Yeah, this reminds me of when I was a kid and my parents, they had like reached their deductible on their home insurance or something, and they're like, "We need new windows, and we don't have to pay for anything else that breaks. Play baseball in the front yard, like just play with hard objects, throw them around near the
Literally
windows."
playing hardball.
And I feel like this could be the same kind of thing that they're like, right now we just need to replace all of these.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if some of them were decommissioned, we wouldn't be upset with you.
Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
not be punished.
Oh my
Was
gosh.
this?
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's amazing. Was this one? Was this church sign the one where like the church just thought it was vandalism, but then the neighbors had footage of the police like
That's a different one.
it was like the police like were like clearing up like rubble like a piece of like the like bumper fell off and they like
Yep.
basically removed evidence
Different one.
of
They
the
did.
crime.
The police specifically went out there, tried to make it look like they never crashed,
Yeah.
and
drove away.
The
Oh, you know
public
what?
had footage on it.
Actually, that's the one with the sign.
Yes,
There's
that's
two
the one with
different
the sign.
historically black churches that they
Yes.
crashed into. One was just the fence, and one was they destroyed a sign.
Yeah.
And that's that one. This,
Yeah.
this one is just
Yeah,
wow.
the Bethlehem's not the sign.
Correct.
Bethlehem's just the fence.
Yeah, that's actually in the picture now that I'm looking at it. It is
the
just
whole
the
thing.
fence, and the sign is like literally there in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that I thought that was the same. Wow, that's great. Like I read that article
So
the other
much-
day, and I thought it was another article about this
No,
crash.
it just happens so much. It just
By the way,
happens.
this one was on February 8th. And that one was more recent.
Yeah. Oh, dear
It's
God.
February 18th at the time of recording.
It's my mom's birthday.
Happy birthday, Miss Lemon. Mrs.
Yes.
She's married.
Yeah.
You don't come from a broken home.
John Lennon. Lemon.
Lemon's a better
But
name.
an M looks like two N's sometimes. So
It
people
sure
would,
does,
people would be
Dan.
like, oh my God. And they're like so excited for my dad to come. And then she's like, it's my dad.
Petition to call M double N.
No.
Nope.
We call two V's W.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw it in the trash.
Throw it in the trash.
Bad idea. So, Citizens of Modern Transit came out with a report that reveals an overall economic impact of transit in Missouri. Good one, Colin.
Sorry.
No. I'm leaving this in. Did we get that? Very good.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Awesome. So, 4.05 billion annually of public transit in the state of Missouri. There's an economic impact of 4.505 billion. Metro transit service, so Metro, including the Metro Link, bus system, all that around the St. Louis area, contributes 2.5 billion of that annual economic impact of the 4.05 billion.
Which means we're better than Kansas City.
By a lot.
We're gonna go back.
By well over a
go
billion.
Back. Go back.
Yes.
The bus and Metrolink and
bus-
the public transit system in the St. Louis metro area contributed,
2.5 billion,
and that is of how much economic impact in the state,
4.05.
and that's for public transit.
Yes,
So the other
just
the other
public
part of
transit.
that is Kansas City, et cetera, et cetera.
Springfield,
Sure.
Columbia.
Yeah.
Cool. So Metrolink
Yeah.
contributing roughly half.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh,
What's-
well over half.
Oh, amazing. Cool.
Well over half.
I don't know what numbers are.
So
The,
there's
what?
plenty of room for the metro system to grow too, which is insane. All right.
Sure. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we're adding.
So do you
we're adding
know-
a stop.
Yes, we're adding many stops.
Well, we're adding at least one right now under construction.
This is true.
To
In
the,
Shiloh.
to the Mid America Airport.
Yes. Well, actually, that's technically Muscuda.
The Mid America Airport.
In Muscuda, yes. So do you know how much economic impact Missouri Department of Transportation
not.
has annually? Doug,
no.
take a stab. How much impact?
I have no idea.
It actually costs
Oh,
$2
yeah,
billion.
probably about the same.
2.1 billion it costs for just the St. Louis region. So let me say that again. The cost of maintaining roads in the St. Louis region is 2.1 billion annually, according to MoDOT. So you're telling me that in the limited capacity of the metro system that exists in very few parts of the St. Louis region already has a greater economic impact on the region annually than it costs to maintain the St. Louis region's roads. Okay? On average, you are sitting, and this is just an argument for you people that are extremely car-centric, and I understand it because
You are one.
I am also that person that's extremely car-centric, but I don't want to be. I don't want to live in a region that is extremely car-centric. On average, you're sitting in congested traffic. This was all reports done this past year. On average, you're sitting in congested traffic for 47 hours annually. Just like bumper to bumper traffic. 2 full days of your life. wasted driving a car. Oh, and that congestion alone costs you over $900 annually in wasted gas just sitting there. Okay? That's just the fuel wasted from the congestion in the traffic, which, fun fact, could buy you an annual Metro pass.
The thing that always gets me,
Which is wild.
the thing that's always like the radicalization part for me when it comes to not owning a car is like if you walked up to anybody and was like, "Do you want a $10,000 a year raise?" What would be the answer?
Yes.
Don't have a car.
Right. That's a way.
Yeah.
Like you change jobs, you change whole sides of the city, you change regions sometimes for a $10,000 a year pay raise.
Also, your stress levels go way down. Your emotional intelligence.
I was telling
up.
David. I was telling a story.
I interjected.
If sometimes you change regions for a $10,000 a year pay raise, you sell your car, you immediately have $10,000 extra dollars for the most on average.
Yeah.
So, but that's not, I mean, again, that's not possible for everybody in the St. Louis region. I was gonna abut your statement with, this is r/map porn. I know the paragon of reliable information, Reddit, but I'm looking at a map of metro areas in the U.S. where more than 5% of the population goes to work on public transit. St. Louis is not on it. That's not surprising.
No.
Like, and so what you're saying is, just to kind of put it in a bow, the metro transit system in St. Louis contributes over half of the economic impact of the state, and car transportation infrastructure is a $2 billion cost sink.
To sink.
And that is even without it's less than 5% of people actually utilize the public transit system because of valid reasons, because it doesn't go everywhere.
Yes.
And if it did, imagine the possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we need more incentives for people to get the annual bus pass, because I think if people already had the pass, they would use it a lot more. And I have an idea for this.
Go.
So what they need to do
This is exciting.
They need to have like metro day trips where you could have your bus pass and it would be like, this bus is going to take you for a day trip to go wine tasting. But they would also partner with the wineries. They're going to be bringing a lot of people there, that if someone has an annual bus pass or has a bus pass, they get certain discounts and incentives at the wineries. So the Metro Link, whatever, would be partnering with all of these other businesses, like a day trip to the Merrimack Caverns or taking day trips different places.
Yeah.
And they could have like a big ad campaign with like billboards that say, do bus stuff. Just like more
Do
bus stuff.
bus stuff.
That's amazing.
We love bus stuff.
Bus stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm voting, dude. I'm voting for you for office just for the slogans alone.
That's a great
That's
slogan.
an extremely good slogan.
And there are a lot of places that are already on the lines that would back that up too. Like, I mean, you can take the bus
Back that bus up.
There you go. You can take, there's infinite possibilities with that.
They're really good.
Or even like a Metro bar crawl. That like
Yes.
the bus is going to take you and then it'll take you home.
Yes.
That's what we thought. We.
For Greenfinch?
No. What was the NPR? MetroQuest.
Oh,
We-
yeah.
Yeah.
Bradley and I, along with my now spouse and our friend, other person that I won't mention, won, not for bad reasons, just because I don't want to say their name everywhere. We won MetroQuest one year.
Yeah.
And we thought that it was
2018.
2018, simpler times. We kind of thought it was going to be like having to do with the Metro, and it
I mean,
kinda
it
didn't.
was a fundraiser for CMT.
That
For
is
Citizens-
true. That is true.
It
That
was a
is
Citizens for Metro Transit.
Modern.
It was a fundraiser for Citizens for Modern Transit. And yeah, it was the first time we ever did it. We said, this sounds like fun. And we won. We swept the floor.
I think we got it
very
like
obvious
the
that you
first
guys were gonna
perfect
win.
score, the first perfect score ever.
Yeah.
But
like,
to his point, it was a scavenger hunt all around the Grove, and like getting people to buy in
Yeah.
by just taking the thing. Because it's like, I know, like my father-in-law says this about like his weird friends, that it's like, oh, some of my friends, they don't like coming into the city at night. That's a crazy thing to say. To me.
People live there.
There are humans who live there, and you know where else humans are on? The trains and buses.
Yeah.
And it is so wildly normal. When I tell people that I don't have a car, the first question is like, or really reaction is like, oh, a lot of times, like from the pearl clutchers, and it's like, oh, you like that? You like how do you live like that? And
I breathe fresh air outside.
It's boring. It's just boring.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I get on the bus. I sit down on the bus.
I don't get road rage.
I get off the bus. I can listen to my podcasts.
Yeah.
I can do a little work. I can sit on the train. I can get off the train. I can doom scroll. I can make these Facebook comment section readers theaters, which I have done before. And it's just boring.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Transportation should be boring.
It should. Make transportation boring again.
Yeah. Except for like the cars, like the train cars themselves.
Those are sexy. Those are always sexy.
Make those sexy.
Yeah, I mean let's face it. There's only good train cars and better train cars in my mind.
So to
Make
wrap
me
this,
mad.
To wrap this section up, I want to add some clarity to this. I agree with the sentiment overall. It could be a misleading comparison to say that there's $2.5 billion of economic impact that the St. Louis metro system provides to the state, and that's a greater impact versus the cost it takes to maintain the roads. When we're talking about economic impact, we're talking about economic activity. We're talking about like the ability for the, for lack of a better word, GDP of the local area to...
They're not supposed to know that.
Let him finish.
So, but to say a good thing, this article does mention that, because if you want to like truly compare numbers to numbers, you want to compare tax revenue to tax expenditure. Now, these numbers are vastly different, but it's still a significant number in the grand scheme of things, and a number that we can increase.
And the idea is that it's an outsized economic impact via the metro transit system, despite the fact that it doesn't really have low ridership for what it is. It's just like, despite the fact that the region's population doesn't take it as much as, say, Chicago or New York or DC.
Yeah.
And it's still an outsized economic impact.
And but here's the thing: is the people who do the math did the calculation and said the state government collects an estimated average of $51 million in annual taxes, that's revenue, because of the direct and multiplier effects of transit. So basically they're saying, we did all these numbers on the economic impact of transit. Specifically within that, what transit does across the state, there's basically $51 million more dollars in taxes that are collected by the state due to the things people do because they're able to get places using transit.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because it's like what the system is good at right now is getting people from point A to point B, and where point A is a dense city cluster of residential stuff to point B, a dense city cluster of commercial stuff, both of which are mixed use. Whether it's downtown, whether it's Clayton, whether it's Richmond Heights, whether it's Central West End, it's really easy to take the metro between those places, really easy to get bus access in those places, and all of those are mixed use and livable, walkable, workable areas. Are they expensive to live? Also, yes. Which is the point. Like the people who need public transit the most in the city are vastly underserved by it.
I'm going to say one thing more just to kind of clarify how many people are actually riding metro and using metro in the area, to show you that people really do ride this. 24.5 million rides a year on metro. Okay. People use the hell out of it. Way more than you think. It is super important to the region.
Can speak firsthand. It's not like the buses are empty.
I know so many people that live in St. Louis without a car, and it is because of metro. Just is.
Oh, I'm just thinking about how like so many people, the major shift that we're seeing now is people not driving to work because they don't go anywhere to work. People live at home, they work at home, they do everything at home.
Yeah.
That most transportation now is for leisure and maybe groceries, but a lot of groceries are getting delivered now too. And so I feel like that has a major impact, that people are going to want walkable communities more than they're wanting to drive anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like the driving in general is kind of going to get less popular as time goes on. But the areas that are still going to be relying heavily on transportation and public transportation are places that you can't buy food in the neighborhood. Because when I think about like Soulard, you can just walk to the farmer's market on Saturday, get everything you need for the week. And then
Vincent's Market.
Yeah.
Like
Iconic.
you have options. Versus where I live, that is a food desert. There is nowhere to walk to get food. So you
probably even take a bus.
You have to take a bus, and less than half of the neighborhood has their own transportation. So you have to take a bus to get your groceries, and getting groceries on a bus isn't very fun or convenient. So I think what we need to focus on is shifting towards just having more access to food.
Yeah, dude, preach.
Brings us to our next segment. This is a brand new segment.
Fart time.
Art fart.
I was gonna call the segment. Hey, my name is Bradley, and I really like art a lot, and I like to think about it and how it impacts like society and culture. And Doug's here, and he's an artist, so I think it'd be a good conversation.
How about public fart?
That's better.
Okay. Well, I was thinking specifically recently just about like public art in general, and like I feel like most of the time we think about public art, we think about sculpture. And just as a person in the world, in recent years, I've come to appreciate sculpture more, or like think about like the first time someone was like, "Oh, the cool thing about sculpture is that like you have to encounter it from different perspectives, different angles." It's like that's so intuitive, but when you articulate it, it's like, oh, like it's like art appreciation 101. It's like, oh, I can like think about this a little more.
Why should St. Louisans care about what you guys are about to talk about?
Well, and so here's kind of my question.
Because I know
here's
that like,
oh yeah, no, like I can get into the esoteric and just live there and
why
have fun.
But Bradley, I thought modern art was for pretentious assholes.
Yeah.
From Reddit.
Well, so I want to ask a question, and I've got some answers for it, but I'd be curious to hear if Doug's got some thoughts, and you guys too.
Reddit does. I can read some of those if you'd like.
Let's hear Doug's first, and then you can hit us with the Reddit. But like public art, what's it good for? What's the point?
What's it good for?
Yeah, like just broadly, like
so broad.
I know
That's a very, very open-ended question.
Can we, first of all, can we just like superpose some of Doug's work like before, just to get an idea of what he's done? Like you've probably seen it before. It's really
No.
good.
Play that, take that down.
No, why not?
Go to his TikTok.
Oh, that's true. We can like do that.
I don't put much art on there.
That's a good point. He does
Go to
not.
his website. You have a website?
I do have a website.
What's your website?
DougWeaverArt.org.
Put it down.
Org.
I need to update it.
What a guy.
It's cheaper than .com.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a smart move. Also, org is way cooler.
Yeah.
We have to get our .org running pretty soon.
Yeah, there was a .com boom. We're about to have a .org boom.
So what is public art good for?
Yeah, because like I feel like, and this is like, let me set up the straw man for a moment, because I feel like there is, a general sense like a lot of public art, particularly public sculpture, tends to be abstracted, and I feel like there's a broad swath of the public who might say like, well, that's just taking up space, or why do we need it? Why do we need to spend money on it? Why do we need to spend civic resources on it? Wouldn't that be better spent in some other way?
And there's a reason that it tends to be abstracted.
Yeah.
And that so much of it has to do with funding. You asked several questions there.
Yeah.
So coming back to why is public art important? Why is sculpture important? And some of it has to do with placemaking and having a place have something that draws you to it, something that you notice when you're there. So I'm currently on a committee for choosing a sculpture for the Near North Side. They just put out a call for entries for it, and it's rather spendy. It's part of the Choice Neighborhoods grant system, so it's like $200,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And so part of the push for that is to have, when people are driving through there is that thing that you recognize. There's that thing that you see and associate with that place.
Hey, look, there's the arch.
Hey, look, there's the arch. People don't know anything about St. Louis, but you say, oh, the St. Louis Arch. I can see the arch from my window. People are like, oh, I know where you live.
Yeah.
So you have that. What are some other sculptures in St. Louis that you like recognize with a specific neighborhood with that sculpture?
At the 4455 interchange.
Yeah.
Sculpture in my neighborhood called Treemonisha. That is an allusion to the Scott Joplin opera, which was just performed here recently. But this sculpture is like ridiculed by the masses, but it is something that is so like endemic to our neighborhood. It's iconic.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere without seeing it. I can like you're crossing the giant interchange to go to Walgreens on foot like I do, and it takes 15 minutes longer. And all the time I'm looking at Treemonisha, the sculpture, which by the way, indicative of a different problem. I would love to hear your reaction to this. Has one Google review.
Are we gonna do a Google review?
From 3 months ago. Yeah, we can. Ready? It's one Google review, 1 star, ugly. From Nathan, a local guide.
What's uglier, the statue or the legacy of the neighborhoods destroyed by that interchange?
Yeah.
For real, which I bet
That's a good point.
is like the reason it's there.
Which coming back to the way my neighborhood is, what it generally is recognized for is abandoned, rundown buildings that Paul McKee owns.
Yeah.
Is
Hey,
most
yeah.
of the
That's
neighborhood.
hold on, that's a curse word in our
And so having something that is intentionally for beautification, something that is noticeable, that it does help in some ways. It helps for people who live there to feel a little bit cared about, but then also people live there that are like, why are we spending $200,000 on this ugly sculpture? And why is it ugly? So why do they tend to be these abstracted, super contemporary, sometimes ugly sculptures? And that has to do with funding and timeframes. So how long does it take to make a really, really well thought out, nice sculpture?
That's an extremely good question. I'm on the edge of my seat. This is so exciting.
I have a friend here in St. Louis. His name's Scott, and he made this amazing sculpture. It's like a 20-foot tall figure of a man, and it's like super industrial, and it's like he built the skeletal system first, and then he made it out of clay.
Okay.
Putting the musculature, it's oil clay, so it doesn't dry out. Put the muscles on, and then put the skin over the top of that, like super anatomically correct, massive, really amazing sculpture. One of the most amazing sculptures I've ever seen that I know who made it. And it was made to be cast in bronze, but it was never cast in bronze because casting in bronze is expensive, and you have to have someone that is willing to buy this sculpture and pay for the casting in bronze. And the process of doing that, from when you start the casting process to when it's finished, it might take a few years to get done.
Really?
There's just a lot that goes into it. It's hard to know exactly what that time frame is going to be because they have
Sure.
to cast it in sections, put all the sections together, weld them together, and then like fix those welded joints to make this amazing sculpture. So a lot of these public funding for arts, they're like, okay, we have this call for entry out, and the sculpture has to be done in 3 months because it is under this grant that we got, and all of the funds have to be distributed in 3 months.
Yeah.
And we can't distribute funds for an unfinished sculpture because then we don't know that it's going to be finished. We're not going to spend $200,000 and get no sculpture.
Yeah.
So we have to have a finished sculpture in 3 months.
Yeah.
So you're saying, like most things in the city, I have this great idea. The city says, great, tell me about it. And you tell them about it. And they're like, how much is that going to cost? And you say, this much. And they're like, here's $5. And they say, how long is it going to take? And I'm like, good, here's how long. And they're like, how's about 3 months? And now we have 2 lines on the Metrolink. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and now we have, like whatever, insert city pitfall here that is more
Yeah.
complicated than one
Yeah.
could possibly imagine.
The one area that I kind of applaud their efforts, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Chesterfield has The Awakening, and have you seen the piece? It's the dude coming out of the ground with the arm. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
It's massive. And I know the bigger the piece, the more expensive usually. I don't know exactly what it's made out of, but it had to have some casting of some sort, so it had to take a very, very long time. But it's people from the region go to there, like specifically to see it. It is kind of an iconic piece, right? And so I associated that, like growing up, because in St. Charles, crossing the Missouri River to the St. Louis County was a big deal. Yep, correct. So like going out to that like sculpture and seeing that was like always really cool. I really loved that.
What's an easy thing we can do today to help adjust our perspective about viewing public art and public spaces?
I think sometimes it's worth taking the time to try to really digest public art and to digest what the meaning behind it is. Sometimes the process of putting that artwork in is more thoughtful, that the artwork should represent something about the region that it's in, something about the neighborhood that it's in. It should hopefully have some input from people who live nearby. And sometimes it's not worth it, because sometimes sculpture is there just because it's easy. So an example is in Columbia, Missouri, they have a law that a certain percentage of all of your funding when you build a new commercial building has to go to art. I don't remember what the percentage is. It's like 1% of all of your construction costs has to go to public art.
Whoa.
And
What an interesting law.
yeah, it's interesting. So I don't remember who it was, they were building this massive building project, and because it was so massive, they had a bunch of money to put towards public art. The problem is it's a lot of work to hire a lot of different artists to make art. Like ideally, if you're like, I have $500,000 to spend on art, well, I mean, you could find, I don't know, what's 500,000 divided by 50?
10,000.
10,000. You could definitely find 50 artists that would make a different sculpture for
Yeah.
$10,000. You can make 50 sculptures in Columbia, Missouri for that, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work. You have to put out a call of entry. You have to have people to sort through all the entries and decide which ones you're going to go with, and to make sure that they're all safe and digestible, to make sure that people aren't going to be mad about it. What's easier is to buy one thing for $500,000 from one artist.
Well, and whether, even if that piece outside of this situation would not be market valued at $500,000, it's
Well,
worth $500,000 because we have to spend $500,000.
What's
And
worth in art?
That's
Interesting.
where things get really weird. They need to find an artist who makes sculptures in the ballpark range of $500,000.
Wow.
There are no artists who do
Wow.
that in Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah.
Because no one pays that much for art in Columbia, Missouri.
I have never even thought about that.
So they end up hiring someone from New York or from California,
God dang.
where that's what the market rate for sculpture is there.
Okay.
That has things on their resume that cost in that ballpark. And what they ended up buying was this big ugly keyhole. If you've ever
Oh my God, that's this?
that's where it was, with like these blurry images that were blown up too big. It's terrible. But that artist has a history of making artwork
That's expensive.
that's expensive.
Wait a second. Was this actually $500,000?
I don't know. I don't remember how much it was.
I was gonna be like,
But I just made
But
up
it was
that
the
number.
point. The
But
point stands.
The
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
it was more than it should be.
that's amazing.
So what you're saying
to
is,
know.
so what you're saying is, like, to distill it down, like if I'm looking at Treemanisha, and I'm Nathan and I go ugly, the first thing I should have thought about was there's a whole lot of work and policy maneuvering that goes into it. That's number one. Like it's a whole process that led to this getting there. That was both a creative but also a bureaucratic craziness that happened, and also that sometimes it is wallpaper. But would you prefer a world without it? Would you prefer a world without wallpaper? Is what I'm thinking, at least.
we had specifically talked about one piece in St. Louis that has kind of a history of being derided, and we're kind of
My dad loves to talk about this
Yeah.
piece, as do many St. Charles County dads probably
Listen,
when they
it's-
come down to downtown.
it's interesting because, and I'll just lay it out there and we'll
I think I know what you're in.
talk on it a little bit. But the sculpture's called Twain. It's by Richard Serra. It's in Serra Sculpture Park down in that the main the mall of
City
all those.
Garden.
Oh, well, it's not in City Garden.
Next to,
It's
adjacent to City Garden.
but it's its own.
Oh, it's
sculpture.
the big triangle.
It's the big triangle, and it's funny that you say like that. Your dad's like every time he drives
That's a
by
compliment.
it. Every time he drives by, he makes some snide comment about how it's like, oh, what's that? What's the point of that? My personal response to that is, I feel like I miss it so much. I feel like I don't hate it as a sculpture, but the placement of it and like the fact that you have all these trees around it from the street is like, if you're driving past it, it's easy to miss.
Yeah.
It's easy to be like, what? I've never seen that before.
The weirdest thing about the Twain piece is that they also planted like some 30 trees around it, and over a third of them died.
Oh, yeah?
Which is like, what? It's like, what happened?
Well, I feel like Richard Serra notoriously makes like obnoxious sculptures. Like he would purposefully make sculptures that obstruct your path to make your city a little bit less walkable, because you have to walk around his
Okay, so
big
look at my
steel
daddy's
sculpture. No, he wasn't. He knows that it's a little bit obnoxious.
Yes.
And yeah, that's that. But
Yeah.
I remember at one point in St. Louis there was a protest that people hated that sculpture so much that they painted them to look like dominoes. They painted pips on them.
Are you
Are they
kidding?
called pips?
Yeah.
Yeah, to make them look like giant dominoes. And you can find pictures of it, and it's like, it looks so cool. These big giant dominoes. I think
I
that
had
should
no
be done
idea.
permanently.
Yeah.
Well, when you get out and you walk around it and you are among it, it actually is kind of, it is enveloping and
It's
kind of
reading the Reddit,
an
the,
interesting experience.
the
for sure.
Reddit reactions to this sculpture are elucidating. But one of them, which is true, you go there. It is an echo chamber.
Yes,
Which it
it's-
is kind of cool to just like
very cool.
shout inside of it. I've done that. I'm one of those weirdos that you've seen downtown. I'm what you're scared of, St. Charles. Let's face it, I'm not. But yeah, no. Some of the Reddit people say a nice idea doesn't work. Ugly. It's an ugly waste of space.
Nice idea doesn't work. That should be the slogan for.
Wait,
like,
what do they think the intended purpose of it is?
No clue, no other context, and also it's on the St. Louis Public Sex Scavenger Hunt list, which is crazy that we have that.
I'm sorry. What?
That's not an ideal place.
I mean, there's actually let's
Wait, there's a
whole chain here.
Hold on.
It's when I
You
worked
just
at
said it's not an ideal place. Do you
What?
have firsthand experience?
Yeah,
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
it's when I worked at AT&T, my boss had a desk overlooking those walls and said he's seen people fucking behind them on several occasions. I thought that list just consisted of Jack in the Box drive-thrus. I love Reddit.
Oh my god.
From what I just, my cursory little read about that sculpture is you're apparently supposed to view it from above. But
Yes.
but how?
From the courts, the courthouse.
Oh, is that
Building.
like what it's supposed to?
Yeah, so
you're supposed to view it from the building?
courthouse, the new courthouse building. You can look down on it, and it's kind of juxtaposed against the arch. That they have a similar kind of shape, that they're supposed to have a relationship between the two.
Yeah.
But it does create kind of like an eerie space when you're there, because I've taken my family there that like we're going to try to enjoy the sculpture.
Yeah.
Like we're going to have a picnic or something. But we felt similar to the trees that were like, no,
Yeah.
this is kind of an awful space to be in. It's an eerie
Yeah.
and weird space, and
Yeah.
it's not comfortable, but
Yeah.
it's not supposed to be a comfortable space.
To wrap this segment up, I kind of want to just hit is there a public art piece that you think more people should know about, interact with it? Just like personal fave, just like what's do you got a fave? Do you have or just like an interesting outline that if you don't know,
Yeah.
you ought to
Or
know.
like a person that we need to know about.
Public sculpture that I think people need to visit is Rootwad Park.
Yes.
It's amazing little park on the riverfront. I really wish that the fountain could get repaired there, but the city's never going to put any investment into it if people aren't visiting there other than to tag it. But I feel like it's become this space that the graffiti on it and the nature of that park is its own vibe.
Yeah.
And so I love that park.
Rootwad Park, famously sculpted by Bob Castley.
Bob Castley.
It's time for
That favorite segment of ours, 31425. 31425 is
scare you, Doug.
No, it's just
31425 is the love child of a tier list and a top 10 or top 5, I guess. And if you don't get it, you'll get it soon.
If you don't get it, you'll get it.
3 is mid, 1 is great, 5 is not. Today we're doing St. Louis Skyscraper.
Skyscraper has to be 100 meters or more.
and
330
continuously
feet.
inhabited.
Yes.
The internet says continuously inhabited buildings over
Yes.
100 to 150 meters.
So-
if they're not sure, we're not either.
Inhabitable.
Inhabitable.
Correct. Inhabitable.
Yes, inhabitable.
They don't have to be currently lived in.
Yeah. Don't come at us because we're not going to list the Wainwright building.
We're not going to list the Wainwright building.
It's small in the sense of this case. It used to be the largest skyscraper in the world, if like not the first skyscraper ever.
Number 3.
100 above the park.
It's mid.
AKA Taipei 101 knockoff.
That's this guy.
All right. So the reason I think we've put it mid is it was a leap of faith. It was like they took a shot, right? They were like, because Studio Gong the designer of the building, does a lot of creative work.
What have they done?
A bunch of stuff in Chicago.
Okay.
Bunch of stuff in Chicago.
What are they called?
And it looks like
Studio Gong, Gang, or is it Gang?
Studio Gang.
It looks way different than anything around it, which is kind of like
Yes.
cool. I feel like.
They're also going to potentially build a 31-story Albion to the lot to the north of it as well. So there will be another, but that one's going to be completely like ovular.
Okay.
As well, so that's going to be like kind of juxtaposed to the jaggedness,
we're just gonna line the
which would be
park.
super cool. But also, these are places for like super wealthy people, so like they know what they were building.
It's also
but
apparently like kind of leaky.
it is
and-
leaky and like a glass, like one of the windows fell off, like one of the panels, one of the glass panels fell off.
Well, at least
and everybody's
it's-
like, oh,
At least it's
everything's
made
fine.
like everybody's like, oh, this building looks like a bunch of Chinese takeout boxes stacked on top of each other. And it kind of does.
Yeah.
But like it's which is actually what Taipei 101 looks like. It's
Yeah.
much more square than this building. But at least if the windows are falling off, they fall like kind of onto the building. Maybe.
Yes, they
I don't
do.
know if that's actually true.
It is true, yes. But they took a big risk, and we'll reward them for that. And it regardless.
the arbiters of good
of our-
skyscraper.
yeah, me, the one guy
Yes.
who is not the artist in the room.
But you're a real estate agent, so that makes you an architect.
I just like pretty things.
It's my son's favorite building in St. Louis.
Yes.
Because he has an alter ego. He calls himself Finley Robot, and he says that is Finley Robot's spaceship.
Oh, that is the best.
And so
It inspires children. What more do you want?
so he makes drawings of it with him as Finley Robot. This is his
I
spaceship.
love that.
Later on this list, we can find your son's nemesis, an evil lair.
Yes.
Okay.
We have. I'm very
All right.
excited for the world to know about this one.
Yeah. Number 1.
Number one,
And it's kind of like really not close.
and it really should be your number one. It's the Civil Courts building. Everybody.
Where you can view the Twain from.
Yeah, you
No,
can
actually,
view
that's the
the
wrong
Twain.
one, isn't it? Is it the Civil Courts building or the new the Eagleton Court building?
I think it's Civil
Civil
Courts
Courts?
where you can view.
You can view the Twain
Yeah.
from it,
but it's
which
beautiful.
is stated
it's got
purpose.
the two. It's got the two
It has
sphinxes at the top.
Mausoleum of Helicanarsis. Is that
Yes.
right? On top.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. David, why is it number 1 to you?
Okay.
These guys.
Because they didn't have to go so hard. They were like,
It is made of rock.
so they're using like local resources, right? Whenever constructing the building, and they at the top of this building, they were like, how about we just build a Grecian construct on top of the courts building? Like, let's just have a full scale Grecian building on top of this.
One of the most interesting things about this building that I think is only interesting to me and my friend Morgan, we've talked about a lot on this podcast, whether we know it or not, is so if you, once you know this, you'll never be able to unknow it. So all those buildings that they constructed for the 1904 World's Fair were made out of the same size limestone block. They were replicated, and they built these buildings specifically out of those blocks so they could put them up easy and take them down easy. And they didn't get rid of those blocks. A lot of them became foundations, and I'm going to guess that it became this building too, because it's those blocks. All those white limestone blocks. It's
makes
it's
sense.
the right size. This building was built in 1930, 1928.
I knew
built.
it was used by the local resources, but I didn't know it was like.
I bet you it was those recycled blocks. And
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's a place to like find comments. Like, please correct me if I'm wrong, because there is a specific size of block that you'll see in so many buildings between 1905 and about 1930 that it was this this giant bay of these stones that weren't destroyed that went to build different foundations, different buildings in town. And it looks like this building is that size of block, just kind of on a cursory look.
To that point,
To wit.
research isn't research. research is making wild assumptions and letting the comments correct us.
Hey, that's why we're podcasters
And
and,
not
not
journalists.
research science. We're not. I'm a research scientist, bro. To quote that guy from the Facebook comment
Super great.
section. Number 4,
Number 4.
Centene Plaza.
Friggin'
Big blue boxes.
yes.
Big. Well, they're
Thank
not,
you for having the discuss. Yeah, it's correct. It's not number 5 though. Right? So
we'll get
but
to
it
number
is
5.
4, so it's on the lower tier.
It's fun to paint.
I'm
I'll give it that.
You know, I'm sure it is kind of easy to paint.
Nah.
At least from a
it reflects
shape.
a lot.
Oh,
Sure.
that's fair. I was thinking
So-
just from I can draw a cube.
The shape of it is not that hard. I've done a lot of Louis cityscapes, and that one's kind of fun. It has a nice, like the blue and yellow tones that come through in the stripes.
Sure.
Mm.
And then the reflections of the other buildings coming through as well.
Yeah.
But then the reflection of the sun is not great.
No,
Oh.
it's not.
So-
Because dude, I live in Brentwood and we go up towards Clayton a lot. I drive up towards Clayton a lot, and when I'm around there, I can't see if I look at it. Genuinely, like if I look at it, if like from the south side, since sun's in the south, boom. Can't see.
I don't know what the difference is between those windows and the windows that face west on Forest Park, like all the buildings on Forest Park. One of my favorite views of St. Louis is being in the middle of Forest Park at about 5:30 p.m. and seeing all those buildings' windows look like they're on fire, and they're
Yeah.
all orange. They're
Yeah.
all very like it's a different kind of hue, and then
Yeah.
you get Centene Center, which is like sun mega death laser.
One of my favorite things about Centene Plaza, those two buildings, right? So Clayco was the designer and builder of those two, not designer. And if you go to the Centene Plaza website, I love it so much because it tells you everything you need to know about just this office building of death that you walk into that is just so office building-y. Like this design build development's a 21-story office tower with 1,700 space parking garage.
Ooh, there it is.
And a public plaza with, quote, decorative landscaping, including outdoor seating, a waterfall, and a fire pit.
That's
Cool.
Those are all cool.
So what? Like,
You know what downtown Clayton is
Cool.
though. We
God.
talk some. I'm gonna give one.
yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
give one
just
to
a bunch
Clayton.
of outdoor seating and fire pits.
Sure, but they contained the parking underneath,
It is true.
and you know what downtown Clayton is? Walkable.
It's true.
And
We
you
do
know
give
what has
Clayton a
really
bunch
good
of
access
crap.
to the
We do-
Metrolink? Clayton.
We do give it a bunch of crap.
It's we give Huntley
Because
more
here's the thing:
crap.
if it was in the city limits of St. Louis, we'd be like, "Oh, Clayton's great."
Yeah, we sure would. We absolutely would.
If it like ended at 170, we'd be like, "Wow!"
They have some bike lanes that are protected.
Yeah.
It's a great it's the Manhattan of the Midwest as it says on a tote bag somewhere.
God, the worst.
It's
Central West End would be like, "Nah."
number 2.
Number 2,
Chase Park Plaza.
Chase Park Plaza. Speaking of one of those buildings that is on fire
To the other side of
to
the
the
park.
west. That's one of those buildings. And
two of our buildings are right next to each other. But I enjoy it because it is multifaceted. Right?
it's like
So
it's
you
like
do-
an original mixed use building.
It is truly original mixed use, and so it's got a few restaurants in it. Obviously, a
Big-ass
hotel.
hotel, yep.
It's got condos in it. It's got
swimming pool for rich
swimming
people
pool,
to look
like
at
a
the
couple
city
swimming
from.
pools.
Yeah.
It has a goddamn theater that is one of the best theaters in St. Louis, movie theaters.
If you're
by
under
the way.
5'7", which I am, so it's
Oh, the seating.
pretty cramped.
Yeah.
But people were shorter back then.
As a 5'10", I am a little cramped.
5'10", really?
I didn't say with or without shoes.
You got those Ron DeSantis.
I'm 5'9" and 3. I'm
boosts
5'9"
in.
and 3/4. I'm the Harry Potter of 5 feet. Isn't that just Harry Potter? The Harry Potter of 5 feet is just Harry Potter. But yeah, I think it deserves your love and affection as much as the rest of St. Louis believes it. It is accurately rated.
It's a beautiful building. I think it's a beautiful building from the other side
Yes.
of what you just showed.
And it's
but
also surrounded by other great architecture. I think that also builds up a piece, right? Being surrounded by other beautiful things.
That's true. Yeah, and it's different eras of architecture as
Unless
well.
it's like surrounding yourself with like uglier people to make yourself look better.
Sometimes that's also true.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. This is overarching.
No. Number 5.
Do you wanna
Oh,
hit
so wait, some honorable
mentions?
mentions. Some
Oh, yeah,
honorable
we should
mentions.
mention- yeah, we got
Wainwright Building wasn't one of them, but that was just because of height.
Yes.
Because it's 9 3/4, not 6 feet, like all skyscrapers need to be.
Oh.
What else? My
One
computer's dead.
Metropolitan.
Yeah.
So the one
That's
Metropolitan
the one
building
behind us, right?
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
that
that guy.
Yeah, Larry's hanging off of. Second try.
Does he want his real name out there?
Maybe. I don't know. Second try. Go look him up.
Southwestern Bell Building.
Beautiful
Yeah.
building.
I like that building.
AT&T was just like, we're gonna go to a Gothic building instead of this gigantic monstrosity of a
I used to
909
I used
Chestnut.
to really like taking students to the public library and sitting on the outside area there and drawing that building.
And drawing that building. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
They
got
hated
so
it,
it's
but
got so
it's
many
fun.
lines.
Yeah.
It's got so many layers.
It's very interesting to draw.
The One Financial Plaza, aka this Lewis Rice building, which you can see back here in his photo, which we will put up an image of the
office at the
meeting
top.
the
Yeah.
meeting space,
Yeah.
the meeting room at the top of the building, which is where your son should have an evil lair. Holy
His arch nemesis is Evil Ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, evil ninja should
this
live here.
is his lair.
Why has somebody not made a movie at the top of this building? I want a chair that I can do this in. At the top.
And tell people to send in the guards.
And stroke. I want a Mr. Evil. Dr.
It's
Evil.
Well, Mr. Evil.
He
'cause you
didn't.
don't
No.
have
He didn't get his degree yet. All right.
it. Oh.
We're doing a prequel.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Could you imagine Mike Myers prequel called Mr. Evil?
Mr. Evil. Don't give him ideas.
He'd probably
Actually,
find
I'd
it.
go see it. I'm not gonna
I
lie
would
about
go
it.
see it. I love it.
Not outside
Number
good-
5.
Number 5.
The worst skyscraper in St. Louis. It's kind
that-
of not. It's just below, but we're gonna count it.
Well, we had Clayton in here.
It's high
No,
enough.
no, no. I'm like it's
Oh, it's just
high
below.
enough?
It says 100 to 150 meters. Whatever.
Anyways.
It's that one random skyscraper on 170.
It's University Tower in Richmond Heights that everybody's like, oh, look, we're getting close to the city on 40. And then it's just that. And you're like, that's why. Like, it's so weird. It's redeeming factor. Coma Coffee is at the bottom of
That's
it.
the kind of building that I look at and I'm like, that is an abandoned building.
Yeah.
Even though it's not.
Slew Care has a lot of offices in there. So, like, there's primary physicians and all sorts of stuff. Also, weird thing. There is a dude that spent over, like, millions of dollars creating this massive production space and that massive production studio with, like, an infinity board, like an infinity wall. What are they called? Infinity LED boards?
the volume.
The, volume.
Yes,
the volume.
like the volume. Yeah. This dude built out huge boards like that. It's huge.
It's in there?
It's in there currently. This dude spent so much money because he thought he was going to, like, turn it into something, and then now it's just kind of there.
Cool.
Right? What? Okay.
If I ever-
That's what that building
I
is
guess
for.
if we ever need to film
it's
something
for a bunch of
like
rich
the
people to
Mandalorian,
just go explore their possibilities.
like VR, but not with a headset.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, hey, we'll keep it on the list.
Are you looking at it right now?
No, I was just seeing if this building is tall enough.
Ooh, he's going to fact check us.
No, different building.
Oh, I see what you. Oh, is this?
I'm not sure it's tall enough.
Another honorable mention.
Tip Top Tower.
Lewis and Clark Tower.
That is a great building. It's one of St. Louis's 2 circular abandoned hotels, cylindrical abandoned hotels.
I was just when you're talking about like a random tower that you're just driving and you're just like, what? Where did
Yeah.
this come from?
That is absolutely true. It's like in a like.
Is that the one
Nor-
up by, is that the
it's like
one up by the
Normandy?
airport? Or
It's over there somewhere. I don't know what municipality it's in, but yeah, no, it is absolutely random. I think it is a little bit shorter.
yeah.
yeah,
then-
I'm not sure it's tall enough.
Then I mean, it's
on-
also just, but it is just as random, but architecturally more significant.
So-
which is why this one's at number 5 and that one isn't.
Well, isn't it like so the circle of death that we talk about all the time, the 6-way intersection,
the Halls Ferry Circle,
Halls Ferry,
yeah.
Tesson, yeah, all that. No, it's
Not
Halls Ferry.
Tesson.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
Halls Ferry, North Broadway,
Riverview,
yeah, all that stuff,
all
yeah.
that. It's just north of that on 367.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
So not only is it abandoned in the middle
I've
of
driven
nowhere,
by.
you have to
I drove
take-
by it when I go up to Eagle Springs and Florissant golf courses. That says a lot about me.
You drive to the north side just to go golf?
Dude, they've got some of the best golf up there. And it's like cheap. It's true. God, I sound white. You just mentioned the word golf, and people are like, "That guy sucks." You know, it's just, like that guy golfs. I'm out.
Sometimes I just kind of shut up and let you talk,
Yeah, it's bad.
and watch your tongue turn into a shovel as you dig your hole to the center of the earth.
Nah,
of your
I know who I
consciousness.
am. And I golf. I'm happy
You
about
do, you
it.
do golf. You look like somebody who golfs.
Thanks.
And this was Overarching. Overarching is produced at Fly North Theatricals in residence with the Kranzberg Arts Foundation in sunny Grand Center, St. Louis Magooby. You can find us on social media at Overarching ST Lewis. I'm Colin.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Bradley.
And I'm Doug Weaver.
This was Overarching with Doug Weaver.